John English here, John English Technical Services, coming at you with a little update video. Today's video, we're going to talk about salad and just kind of the objective in here. Some of you know that this is kind of a workspace, but it's getting a little cluttered, out of control, kind of unmade beds everywhere. I've been trying to get to this project here. I haven't had any luck lately, but that's all going to change. Things are going to maybe slow down for the business a little bit. We'll see. Right now, clients are first priority. And so if there's a client need or demand, that's my main focus. So as some of you know, I have the business, or my business is John English Technical Services. So I have a computer business and provide remote support and on-site consulting and support for various businesses and individuals, young and old. and so it's a lot of fun. I started that business almost 20 years ago, and it takes a while to get a small business like that, established and going, and you got to advertise, and your ad needs to run for quite some time before people build trust with you. They may see an ad in a magazine or like a circular or whatever you want to call them, and they maybe just glaze over it and see it. But yeah, so I get calls from new people or potential new clients, and then I get a lot of repeat business, and it's really good. But I have a big passion for tech, and so that makes it helpful, because when you're fixing things for people, you're kind of like a mechanic. You're kind of at the whims of the tech. So you need to have, or one should have a good understanding of what they're getting themselves into before they start helping people and putting themselves on the line. And not everybody is an expert in any field. There's a lot of people that are, construction workers or plumbers, and the thing when you're working for yourself, or actually for any business in general, you want to have the mindset that you're learning and growing. And so that's the main thing that I try to focus on is stay humble. I don't pretend like I know everything. I never come into a job site, belittling anybody's systems or setups. I just try to stay objective, focused, and then, give my clients the best service I can provide. And so when you're dealing with clientele, they trust you. They hire you. You're the person that they want. And so that's a huge honor. And so if you violate that trust ever, that is a death sentence to your business. You have to be very mindful of the kind of work you do, how you treat your customers, how you treat your customers' clients themselves. So if you're in an environment like, let's say, a gym, for instance, and you're in there working and you're doing some works, performing your work behind the counter or something like that. And let's say one of the customers that you're working for, or the client that you're working for, they have a customer walk in the door, and you just ignore that person like they don't exist. That is not very welcoming. And so you're in their business right now at that point, or in that instance where that other customer walks in, your client's customer. When they walk in, and when you acknowledge them, you're acknowledging that customer on behalf of the business. And so that doesn't mean you have to be, some schmoozer or anything like that. It could just be a simple, hey, how's it going? Someone's going to be right with you. I'm just the tech guy, So, just open yourself up to, being part of the team. And so that's kind of how I treat it. I try to be a team player, and always, working on building trust and confidence in my skills and my clients. And so, long story short, or whatever, that's kind of why this space has kind of been neglected. And so I do have time coming up here, regardless of having a child here pretty soon. My first, we're having a baby girl, which is extremely exciting. And so that's a big journey. A lot of people are excited for us. My lady and I, we've worked really hard to get to this point. And there's been a lot of, we were living together on extension cables for a while. Like literally I had 20 amps going to the house because of an incident with some help that came out to try to help me with some some trench work, and it ended up pulling up my 100 amp service that goes to my house. And that was a major setback, but I rolled up my sleeves, I got it fixed, and we finally, and then after that, it was like propane issues, and I had to put a new water heater in, which actually wasn't the problem, it was my regular. So anyway, I am a homeowner, a family man, a business owner, and I'm very blessed to have that. But I always am trying to learn and grow, and I'm very blessed to have my lady by my side that supports me unequivocally, and we're just blessed to have this opportunity to bring another wonderful being into the world. And so that's our first. Hopefully we have more. Hopefully, things are align. Hopefully the stars align so that opportunity does present itself. But going back to this, and so we have these are just spare cables from clients. You have numbers on here from people that I was basically cleaning out their networking, and I had all these extra cables that it just like threw into this. And so that doesn't work for me anymore. I have to change this strategy. And so I started doing that. I started with this 1,000-foot box of Ubiquiti CMR cable. This is a Cat 6 indoor, really good quality, solid copper. And so if you've ever used the Ubiquiti products, they have some good stuff. I highly recommend them. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. Sometimes I feel like I am, but definitely not. And so we've been cutting cable, and I've been hiding it behind this rack. So underneath this rack are, several cables, and I have to clean this up and get this organized because it's better for my mental health. And so I got to get the floors picked up. I got to get this floor mopped and things cleaned up. And so that's been what we're doing. So we have this nice bundle here. And so we're going to cut and terminate these. We've already cut them, but we're going to terminate these ends. Maybe put some stress relief boots on there. Maybe not. I really don't mind or care, to be honest. And then just get this area cleaned up, because this is our 48-port PoE switch, the USW Pro. This can deliver, I think, 700 watts of PoE. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. It might be 400, but I think it's between 400 and 700 watts of PoE. And the reason why I have a PoE switch here is because I expect to have more devices that require PoE in my future. And I got this for an incredible deal. I actually found this off of eBay. And so I was not afraid to purchase this because the seller seemed like they were just trying to get rid of it, And these switches are pretty expensive right from the store, and they work great. And so I'm happy with that. Ideally, I'm going to get a 10 gig uplink because I have 4 10 gig ports here. And this whole facility is going to get hardwired for 10 gig. And so it'll be 10 gig trunk, or the backbone, whatever you want to call it. I'll have a 10 gig pipe coming here, and then it'll get distributed to different switches and so on and so forth. And eventually I want to get some door access stuff for my gate. And so that when I pull in, my Ubiquiti cameras will see and register that I have, a license plate that's allowed into the property. And so that'll be cool. One day, I'll be able to pull in, and the camera will just recognize that it's me, and the gate will open automatically. And so there's a lot of features that come with the door access that I haven't even gotten into yet. And that's a whole area that I want to start gravitating towards with my Ubiquiti understanding. And so I love this ecosystem. Up here we have the AI Key, which is basically an AI, on-site AI, like it's edge compute. So I think this has like an ARM processor. It's nothing too crazy. So that's mine. That's my AI Key, and it's not in a rack or anything. Eventually I'll probably get a nice rack in here. But I do have a whole nother room that it's framed, but I had to put a floor in and do some work to it. And then that's going to be more of like a networking closet / like ASIC area. I have 50 amps, I believe, ready to go in that location, but I haven't finished the vermin proofing. There's a lot of like work that has to get done into that part of the facility. And so back on track. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to clean up this stuff, get this area cleaned up and a little bit more pleasing to the eye and to my mind when I walk in. And so that'll be really good. Currently we have 0 Caspa being mined at the moment. That is because the sun is not shining that bright today. It is pretty good. I don't know. I haven't checked my panels, but they're producing something for sure. They're producing more than likely enough to cover everything here and then some. So that's been my main focus here living in California, is to run that meter backwards, because PG&E sucks, man. They're just total shit. I'll just call you like it is, man. PG&E they're so corrupt and so terrible. They raised our rates over the last like 10 years so high. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I have a commercial rate and I still see a 50-cent kilowatt hour delivery charge on PG&E because they put in the lines. I have a different rate for my generation charge, which I can get into that sometime, but it's much better. It's like 13 cents or something like that. So being on solar and having a good rate like that for generation's excellent, but PG&E still tries to rake me over the coals with their distribution or delivery. And so I've been really working hard to get things accomplished, stack up, because I have a pretty big investment coming for more solar. And so there's things that, you can and can't do. And honestly, I'm more on the lines of like, just make it happen. That's been kind of like my attitude when it comes to this stuff is, like it's like doing your own electrical, sometimes, you hire somebody, a professional, quote unquote, and they come out and they do poor work. And I've had that over the years. And if you do your research and if you're a person with, functioning brain, and I consider myself, I don't ever like boast about it or anything like that. I would consider myself relatively smart. I have 2 functioning brain cells for sure. And so, I'm always willing to learn, and that's the key. I don't want to try to sound like I'm smart or a smart ass or anything like that. I am always willing to learn. And so that is where I excel at that. I like to teach myself new things. I like to get into the plumbing and electrical and learn as much as I can and make mistakes and then grow from it. And so that's been hugely beneficial from a growth mindset, having that growth mindset and having a can-do attitude for myself, for my business, and for my family. And so that's what we're doing. We're working on getting more solar and getting a battery system in place so that in the evening we're not, running too heavily relying on the grid. Because right now I'm very blessed to have this situation where for every kilowatt that I send back or every watt that I send back, I get credit for. And so I get equal credit. A lot of people in California right now, they only get 30% of what they generate. So if you have 1,000 watts going to the grid, you're only getting like 300 watts of credit. And so I think that's criminal, honestly. And I think more states are starting to do that. And I feel like that is one of the worst things you could do to our society as a whole. I think that's very greedy. I think if you have solar panels and you're generating power, you are a power producer. You're actually putting money into the power company's pocket. But what PG&E does and what these other guys are following suit with is that they're just stealing. That's criminal. So I put in the effort, I put in the solar. Why shouldn't we get full credit for what we produce back? And so what's forcing people to do is to get batteries and produce, like, overproduction is key now. If you're going to build a new house or commercial setup, I guess you have to have some serious upfront solar, and then you have to pretty much, you're basically creating your own power system if you're in a sunny area in California. So you have to have, the idea that you're going to have batteries and so on and so forth. And that costs money. You have to have a little bit of upfront ability for that. And so that's kind of been the goal here, is to get more independent. I want to be able to mine these coins and, Caspa, Bitcoin, and, anything else I want to plug in or test, get a miner in for testing. Maybe that's something in my future. I have no idea, but I'm willing to go the extra mile to put the effort in there, so it's not costing my family an arm and a leg, and that we can be, kind of independent, more self-sustaining, or more self-sustainable rather. And so yeah, that's what we're doing. We got the salad cooking. Our 4070 Ti is rented. You can see it's running right now. I think this is a really nice card. I just it's my first time having one of these MSI, like, professional grade type. There's a fan on the underside here on this side, so it's kind of like the NVIDIA's way of doing it. It's almost like a founder's edition, essentially. And so that card's going. Salad recently did some stuff I wasn't too happy about, other than just having, like, no work at all. but they cut their 4090s. The amount that you get for a 4090 is way down. Sometimes I'm getting 25 cents an hour for that. At other times I'm getting 20, which I'm not gonna argue. I think that's fine. But there are times where I turn on a 4090 and I see it getting like 13 cents an hour. I'm like, what the hell are we doing here, folks? And I guess that's just because there's more 4090s out there. And then you have people bouncing around from Salad to Okta to Clore, Vast, whatever the case may be. But Salad is adamant about just sticking with this like gaming PC, rental space. They don't have any ambitions to become like a higher level compute rental service. They don't really see themselves doing like a 4 4090 or a 4 5090 or an 8 5090 server rig. And it's just not in their wheelhouse. So giving this, I'm not trying to like pivot and spend $50,000 on an AI server right now, or even 25,000, whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to deploy that capital because I don't have the backbone. Being that I'm on, I have like 4 WAN connections if I need to, three mainly. I have 3 really good connections that allow this to happen. And so my Ubiquiti Dream Machine splits it up really well. And so there isn't really any issues with like getting bandwidth to these rigs. And I also have a 4th connection, which is Starlink, which give it the benefit of the doubt, man. Starlink's awesome. And I've actually had rigs getting rented and running off of the Starlink. So I don't know, people talk smack on Starlink, but Starlink has its benefits big time, especially being out in the country like I am. So that's okay. We have a little balance up here. I guess in the last 24 we made 1145, which I really don't care about these numbers. These are I just want to see this thing running, and when I have numbers like these coming in, that's not too bad. It's happening. My power bill is extremely low right now, and we're profitable. We're actually doing quite well for what this is. And so I missed the days where this was like in the $30-$40 range. I haven't seen that in a while. But that's okay. I mean, I could have more GPUs running and maybe that would suffice. But right now we've kind of been scaling back. We've been unplugging 3080 Ti's and decommissioning rigs, getting ready to sell, and just kind of like turning a new leaf. And I think that's kind of the progress you got to make. So I have this cool little mini ITX board. I'm thinking about turning this into a home NAS or maybe like a Plex rig or something. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with it. I like the size of this motherboard. Heck, I might even just stick like a 4090 on this guy or something like that, and see if it gets some more work, because 64 gigs, not too bad. I can run Windows 11 on this thing. I think it has an older i7 Intel, and it could do something. It might just end up becoming a home theater PC. I have no idea, but right now we have a 5070 just sitting here collecting dust. Maybe that goes in here. Let me know. What do you think about that idea? Put 64 gigs in there, throw the 5070 in there. Maybe it gets rented. Who knows? But yeah, that's kind of the gist there. I'm really pleased about these KS5s. These have been wonderful workhorses when I do run them. Shout out to Terra Hosting, Hawk over at Terra Hosting. If you need anything ASIC related, just reach out to Hawk and tell him John English sent you, and he'll take good care of you. He took good care of me. He took really good care of me with these 2 miners. I haven't forgot that at all. I know, how blessed I was to get these at the price I did, and he's a really good guy. I vouch for him. I'd probably fight for him, honestly. If we got into a street fist fight, I'd fucking knock somebody out for Hawk. But anyway, that's another story. And we have these other KS0s off right now, but we do have the RX0 running. This has been running for a while. I wish I had not turned it off. There was a time where I did turn it off because I was trying to really scale it back. I got stung with a sneaky power bill, man. I got a really nasty power bill. And I was like, all right, everything's off. We're just turning everything off. We're going to run the meter backwards. And so I turned this back on because it's not running a lot right now. I think this is the switch and that RX0 running. So the RX0, so the 100 watts out of this equation. And so that's a pretty manageable, amount of power. It sounds crazy, but we have to be very conscious of our power usage when we're mining in California or doing anything, especially mining, especially ASIC mining. Be very mindful of our usage in California. So, but Radiant is waking up. I love Radiant. I have been mining it since it came out. And so I've had mixed feelings about it, gone back and forth. But the guys are still cooking. And so being that it's a Bitcoin Cash fork, it is a pretty nice project. It's proof of work. It is grassroots proof of work. It's kind of like that original proof of work feeling and sentiment. They just got hit with those sneaky FPGA farmers that came in and just tanked it. And so, that can happen when you have people that don't want to, they just want to mine and sell. And there's no problem with you wanting to do that. If you want to sell everything that you mine or turn it all into Bitcoin and stack that, more power to you. I get that. But we're mining native Radiant right now. We could point this at another pool or something. Maybe even like, I think NiceHash supports them. I also believe that Unminable supports Radiant. And so you could mine a different coin, and get Solana or more Bitcoin or whatever it is that you want. You could do that with pretty much any of this hardware. But that's not what we're doing. We're getting Radiant. We have a small satchel. Some people have larger satchels than I do. That's for sure. That's traditional for anything. There's always someone with a bigger bag. The faster you learn that, the faster you're going to be happy in life, in my opinion. But anyway, so yeah, we're mining some Radiant and stacking it up, and it's been pretty cool. And then we also have this other project that I'm not sure if I've talked to anybody really about yet. This is a Sourceful Gateway. This is a Solana DePIN. And why this is cool is because it's not even out yet. They're going to launch their token, I think, next year or something like that. And so, as you know, with DePIN, it's all about getting in early. And Sourceful has some really cool, they have a really cool, I think they're in the Netherlands, but they're European. And there's a lot more solar going on out there too, because of just like the way that they're getting hosed with their energy rates. So people put up solar panels all over Europe as much as they can, try to, they run like, especially if you have water in your backyard, you'll see like hydro setups in Europe because it's very wet. But these guys are cool. I met them through the Helium Discord and also through Entropy. A lot of people are bullish or they think bullshit about Entropy, but I don't. It's just these guys are awesome. Like the crew that's around these ecosystems, they're like-minded individuals. They're people like you and me. They're people that they have families or maybe they don't, whatever their case may be, but they're interested in tech and they're trying to create businesses and they're developers. And I mean, that's awesome. We're at the forefront of tech. And back to what this does. So this is registered with my one of my solar setups. So I have two on two different meters, but this one is registered with the what is it? Enphase. So I have an Enphase account, and then you just link this with your Enphase account, and so it watches your Enphase inverter, and it sees that you're producing energy, and so you get tokens for that. It's a pre-token launch, so there's no value at all, but I'm excited to be part of this. It's a neat idea, and so there's actually cool metrics. Their dashboard, their software, their web UI is actually pretty slick. It's nice. I highly recommend checking it out. But they have other things they're working on. They have a meter-based setup that you can attach your, you can get info from your meter, and so that it works in conjunction with this, so you can actually monitor your usage and how much you're sending back, which is pretty cool. I don't have that feature set yet. And then they're also working, I guess, on an EV charger. And so EV charging is kind of like one of those weird areas that there's a lot of need for it, but there's no profit in EV charging. So you can set up an EV charging station, and you're going to spend a ton of money. But it's really more of like if you're a gas station, or you have a strip mall or something attached to a gas station, or you have a strip mall, and you put in an EV charging setup. It's really to bring customers to your location, because the rates, the EV charging game, maybe Tesla is profitable on them, but I think it's more of like a loss leader. So you're spending a ton of money on your infrastructure and your power, and it's really just to get people to park there and then maybe go inside and shop. And so I think that's mainly the benefit of like having an EV charging station. However, I do want to set up an EV charging station or two on my property, and with Ubiquity, you can they sell you an EV charging station. They have a level 2 that's pretty badass. It has a screen. I think Bitsby Trippin has one at his mining farm. Shout out to Bitsby Trippin'. If you see that guy out there, man, tell him I said hi. I think he's extremely inspirational. The guy is just done really well in the mining space, and he has, Bitcoin mining farms and stuff like that, and just has an overall cool attitude. I'd like to meet the guy sometime. Probably will. Who knows when that'll happen? But he's all about Ubiquity, and I find that really, it's good quality stuff, and that makes sense because I think Bits he's into good quality stuff himself. And so he has an EV charging station at one of his mining sites, and I think maybe he has two of them now, but he charges his Tesla truck with it, or any other Tesla vehicle, or any EV really that has that same kind of port. But that's really cool. And what I was going to say about that is, like, I was thinking about, maybe setting up a little maybe a rental, or maybe even like a Harvest Host. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but I have property, and so Harvest Host is one of those things where you can like allow people into your property and set up, maybe camp or do some overnighting or whatever, and then you can like offer them things in exchange. Maybe you have a winery or something like that, but that's another one of those things that just like brings people to your property that maybe you have a business on. And so what I was thinking about with the Harvest Host idea is that I would set up, a 50 amp charger that would be a level 2, and allow people to come and use it. Maybe it's tied into the Harvest Host thing. And so the idea would be to get some like wealthy, Bay Area clientele, or people that want to stay at a nice place and have EV charging before they take their trip up to Tahoe or up to Nevada, or wherever they're going. And with the Ubiquity charger, I can bill them. I can set up a payment plan, or not a payment plan, but a pay window, or a fee-based system, so they can tap their card, and my EV charger will accept, it'll accept a fee. And so I can, be reasonable, but if you want to charge your vehicle, maybe it costs you 10 or 20 bucks. I don't know, but I haven't figured out the details there yet, but that's a really cool avenue that I was thinking about going down, because it's part of Ubiquity. It's part of my solar idea, and it's part of like creating more streams of passive income, and also, honestly, meeting some cool people. Sometimes you meet cool people with these like Airbnb setups, or a bed and breakfast setups. I don't know if you guys have ever stayed at a bed and breakfast, but it's really nice. Sometimes you wake up. You usually wake up at your bed and breakfast, and they have breakfast for you. And it's honestly, sometimes it's the people that own the property or the house, and they are a lot of fun to talk to often. And so, when my family, we would travel back when my dad was still around. Sometimes we'd stop and stay at like a bed and breakfast when I was a kid, and we wake up, and my parents were always, getting their coffee early, and they're talking to the hosts of the property, and it seemed like it was a lot of fun for them. And so I feel like that community, we have a lot of space for that opportunity for community, and for talking to people, and building that kind of rapport with your clientele. And so, that's kind of the thoughts there, is just have like, clean water, power, maybe some shade, facility, maybe an outhouse or something like set up for these people to come and spend the night, and then you earn some relatively passive income. So I don't know, just kind of my thoughts there. I'm always thinking, trying to get some sort of new ideas going. Now, let me know in the comments if you guys have an Airbnb or some rental properties or something like that. And but yeah, so I guess that's kind of the update. Just gonna wrap this up here pretty soon. I've been talking. Wow, it's almost 30 minutes here. So yeah, 4090s, 5090s, not so much on Salad. I've seen one of my 5090s rolling. Mainly my 4090s are rented right now. Right now. I sound like hobbyist miner. Anyway, East Coasters, they got that accent. And I'm sure West Coast, we also have an accent too that is very unique. But anyway, not talking any smack. Hobbyist miner is doing great things. I love, if you're not checking out his shed builds, pretty cool stuff he's doing. Obviously, he's doing some good work. So really cool. Just the guy is always moving, and I find that very inspiring. I think that's great. He's in a good state. I think it's Pennsylvania, and he has some good inroads with the power company, and I think that's really cool that he's building out some pretty cool stuff there, and running big boy miners in a home shed environment. He's he's doing numbers, and a lot of people, they're going to be critical of that, but I'm like rooting for the guy. I'm like, dude, go get it. That's awesome. But anyway, yeah, so it looks like we have some GDR4 right here. I could pull that guy out. Might have to remove that cooler and stuff it in this guy. And then maybe we can turn on this 5070 and maybe it'll get rented because it's a viable car too. Who knows? But anyway, guys, that's it. We've got the Chia rolling. Chia's doing fairly well for me. I wish I could, keep expanding that, but this is kind of is what it is, it's just sitting there. It's not pulling too much. But yeah, Chia, Salad, mining some Radiant, not a lot of Caspa right now. We've mined tons of Caspa for a while now. People are so critical of Caspa. I don't really care. I don't listen to the FUD or the noise. I am very much just, I've been in crypto for quite some time. So I've seen projects come and go. Caspa, whatever you think, I feel like Caspa has some staying power. That's just my personal opinion. This is not financial advice or anything like that. It's just they have to work on ironing out some kinks and getting development going, and yeah, they'll do okay, And so yeah. Anyway, lots to do. I could go over more stuff, but yeah, cleaning up, getting in here, selling some stuff. Obviously, it's fun to see these things rolling. Getting 8 cents an hour right now, which is great. So, all right, guys. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by and checking me out. And, get the like and subscribe and all that good jazz and let people know I exist. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying grateful and having a really great day. And anyway, take care. Peace.